This is a Fox News alert. In less than 24 hours, lawmakers in the House of Representatives are expected to vote on a tentative budget deal that was reached late last night. However, today, many conservatives have expressed serious reservations about this agreement. Now, in just a moment, I'll be joined by the man who unveiled the proposal yesterday, Republican Congressman Paul Ryan. But first, earlier today, House Speaker John Boehner was asked at a press conference about the conservatives who have spoken out against the deal, and this was his, well, reaction.
They're using our members and they're using the American people for their own goals. This is ridiculous. Listen, if you're for more deficit reduction, you're for this agreement.
Now, the Speaker may feel that way, but there are many on the right, conservatives, who are not happy with the so-called compromise. Tonight, by the way, we want you to join the conversation. Log on to our Facebook page. Tell us how you would cast your vote tomorrow. And you can also sound off on Twitter using the hashtag Hannity over the course of the next hour. In the meantime, here to address conservative critics and more directly is the chairman of the House Budget Committee, Congressman Paul Ryan. Congressman, good to see you. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be back with you, Sean.
There's a lot of conservative opposition. Before we get to that, let's talk specifically about the deal. And I think a lot of the anger is rooted in the kind of the end in sequestration that was working. But why don't you outline it yourself? You worked on it with Senator Murray. Tell us what it is.
Well, first of all, it doesn't end sequestration. It just gives some temporary relief for sequestration. Over the next year and a half, which is the term of this agreement, we keep 70% of the sequester. And the 30% of the sequester that we give relief to, we more than pay for with smart spending cuts that are permanent in the other part of government spending that pays for that sequester relief. Over the life of the sequester, which is kept, we keep 92% of the sequester. So what we're saying is, instead of the across-the-board cuts, which hit only the military starting in January, which is a concern of ours, we cut spending in other parts of government to pay for that, and we get $85 billion in savings from the autopilot side of government spending to pay for $63 billion in sequester relief. That gives us $23 billion of net deficit reduction. So when I went into this, Sean, I had a couple of bottom lines. Keep our principles intact. That means no tax increases, cut spending in smarter ways so that we actually reduce the deficit. We think we kept those principles intact. That's what this agreement does. Doesn't get rid of the sequester. It actually, the Democrats went in this saying no sequester at all. Now they've agreed to keeping 70% of the sequester during this time. And over the life of the sequester, we keep 92% of it. So we see that as a really good step in the right direction.
All right. The budget deal, though, would spend $63 billion over the next 2 years. The savings come at the back end of the 10-year period. And you and I both know that future Congresses are not going to be beholden to this deal, and it's probably going to change many times in between. Isn't that the way? And this is a big criticism of Washington in general.
Sure.
You get the tax increases now, you get this now, and then all the good stuff will come later.
Yeah, well, obviously, there's no tax increases here, but I understand your point. This is the nature of what we call mandatory spending or entitlement spending or autopilot spending. When you change the law, which we're changing the law immediately, that accrues savings over time. And that does take time to accumulate that savings. It's not backloaded, it just compounds. Take, for example, federal employees. We're suggesting that the hardworking taxpayers who pay the taxes to pay for government workers' benefits don't pay as much for their benefits, and the worker pays more for their own benefits. Yeah. This is something we did in Wisconsin. This is something we think we should do all across.
But here's the point. Isn't the net, though, $23 billion in savings over a long period of time, and that the budget deficit, which now stands at $17.5 trillion, is headed towards $25 trillion, add to that $90 trillion in unfunded liabilities, so we're still increasing the debt, increasing our deficits. In other words, not the amount, but we're still increasing the debt every year, and we're not getting anywhere near a balanced budget.
Sean, let me just make the last point, which is permanent law changes, permanent spending cuts. They take time to develop, but they're not, if they're going to be undone, Congress has to pass a new law to undo them. To your point, you're right on the money. This is not an agreement to balance the budget. That's what our budget does. Guess what, Sean? Elections have consequences. We're going to have to win a couple of elections to actually pass the kind of budgets that you and I are in favor of. The one I passed in the House just last spring. The House Republicans have passed 3 budgets in a row that actually balance the budget, that actually pay off the debt.
So this is not your ideal budget. This isn't
no, of course
by
not.
any
this isn't even close to my ideal budget. But here's the point, Sean. Is this a step in the right direction or not? This cuts spending. This lowers the deficit. It doesn't raise taxes. And in
raises
particular, we're
fees.
concerned about what it does to defense.
Yeah.
It stops those defense cuts from happening anymore. So we see this as a step in the right direction. Our ultimate vision is our budget. This isn't our budget. This is an agreement that gets us on a step in the right direction. It's a small step. I'm not going to oversell that. But here's the other point, Sean. It stops government shutdown in January, and it stops a government shutdown in October. And we don't think it's in our interest to have these government shutdowns. We want to focus on Obamacare and Obamacare oversight. We want to focus on speaking truth to power and doing real congressional oversight on this administration. And we want to focus on rolling out our proactive agenda. If we have all these government shutdowns, we don't think that that helps us do that. So this prevents those government shutdowns.
It prevents the government shutdown. It gets you to the next election. And I guess I view where we are right now, and tell me at which point you disagree. Feel free to interrupt me. I see America is in a financial crisis that we are now going to have $25 trillion we're now headed for in debt. All these, the $90 trillion in unfunded liabilities. We have 25 million more Americans on food stamps, 1 in 6 Americans in poverty, 1 in 5 American children in poverty. No real solution in sight. I know that you only have one house, but you also have